Welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm your host, Hamza Idris. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. I have in the studio Senator Yusuf representing Taraba Central. Before we went on break, you just reminded me of former President Obasanjo of Friday saying that if he had wanted third time, he would have gotten it. Do you trust what he said?
Well, I don't know. It may be possible, it may not be possible. You see, in politics, they say 24 hours is a long time.
Yeah.
So, but, maybe, at the time, he said if he had wanted, but someone will argue that if he wanted it, but he couldn't get it.
Yeah. So and this was actually the general belief out there.
Exactly. So
yes.
It's politics.
Now, I'm really curious. You said you wanted, okay, you had it for the first time and then the second time. But, governors after first, second term, because of constitutional restriction, they now moved to the Senate. Do they really add value? You are a member there, and what is your take? Is it really necessary for them to go to Senate after two times?
Personally, my observation is that, once you are a governor and you have come to the Senate, yes, there are some experiences you are going to put into the Senate. But personally, I don't want to be a governor. After governorship, I go to the Senate.
I remember Atahiru Bafarawa, he said it's actually demotion. He said it at a time that after serving two times, controlling 3 senatorial zones in executive capacity, now to go back to Senate just to contribute. We don't even have powers to determine what happened in your senatorial zone. It's really good to move elsewhere.
For me, it is even the other way around.
Okay.
It is when you leave Senate and you go to the governorship that you are demoted.
Okay, when you leave the Senate?
Yes, because senator is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
While governor
collectively,
is state.
You make law for the federation. So if you are governor, you are only restricted to your own state. For me, what is important really is the role that each and everyone plays, and not the constituency that he occupies. But as a member of the Senate, it is such a powerful institution, where it is respected. In United States of America, if they say you are a senator, they respect you much more than you are a governor, even if you are in the state.
Maybe because of the years of experience they garner and all.
Not only that, because Senate means you are the whole federation. Collectively is your constituency, and you make law for the federation. No governor can make law for the federation. Governor makes law or execute law of his state.
They call the 9th Senate rubber stamp compared to, 8th, 7th, and all that. Do you believe in this?
I don't believe so. I've been in the 8th Senate, I've been in the 9th Senate, and still in the 9th Senate until maybe in a few months to come. And we have not been rubber stamps. I always ask this question.
But almost all the bills that get to your place from the presidency, they get accelerated.
Let me explain this thing. Have we been voted to come and antagonize the executive?
But you should check. Look at the rate. You are an economist. I will get to that. But you're supposed to check some of the activities of the executive.
You see why some of these things move seamlessly?
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of background.
Okay.
Background
which the maybe previous Senate did not do?
Probably they were not doing it. So we do a lot of it. A lot of it. We do not allow things to lie low, until just, it is the Senate. Yes, I agree. There are certain things that you are going to look the same. There are certain things you are going to look differently. There are also so many bills of that were brought us which we have not done. So. I cannot see area of this rubber stamping. If they bring
look at the latest budget, the 2023, when it gets to the Senate,
it is not rubber stamping.
To 28 trillion.
It is not rubber stamping. What did the executive present to us? 21.
Okay.
And we put 22. Is that rubber stamping? It is not.
People are looking at the burden of, borrowing and all.
Well, fine. Now,
weighing down the country.
Now, when we go to the realm of borrowing, there are certain, it is budget presented, by the executive to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly, in its own wisdom, will look at it in the light of the parameters that were presented in what they call MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework. So we look at it in that context. And if they say, okay, why is National Assembly approving, budget and budget and budget and budget, are presented by the National Assembly, why wouldn't the National Assembly say, no, National Assembly executive, the budget you presented is unrealistic. That is not the way we work.
So it's not the other claim that is actually to accommodate your severance and all that, because many of you are not coming back.
Has it been increased?
I don't really know, but
so
maybe
what
it's
we have, what is the percentage of the statutory allocation to National Assembly in the budget? It's less than 0.1%. So
of all the outcry.
So what are people crying? Is it 0.1% that is for the Senate, for the senators, for the members, House of Representatives, for the National Assembly Service Commission, for all the staff, for all the capital, for all the recurrent, everything is within that thing that you are talking about. Less than 1%, less than 0.1%. So people, I think they should sit down and realize it is not everything that they see in the budget that goes to the senators only. What do senators get? What do senators get?
You said peanuts, but Nigerians see it as big.
Compared to what a senator in the United States of America gets, what does a Nigerian senator get?
So it's not true that Nigerian senators or legislators earn more?
They are not. There's a difference between running an office and also your salary. How much does a minister use in running his office in Nigeria today? How much does a governor of central bank use in running his office today? How much does the chief executives of the various parastatals use in running their offices? Check, and you'll find that it is stupendously high. But what we say is, let us look at it in the context of salaries and wages, and in the context, of the economy, on how the economy, is being run. So people should have enough information. They should do a lot of engagement. They should do less speculation and what have you.
And get it right. I wish I had more time to ask questions on this, but I will still go back to the Northeast, which is our subject of discussion. You not only miss it, APC in Taraba when you had a woman, and now another one imagine in Adamawa. What are her chances, Senator Binani?
Well, it's wonderful. In 2015, we campaigned for Mama Taraba of blessed memory. A woman, a powerful woman, wonderful woman, with a lot of, enthusiasm to lead. And I think it's the same thing we have, in Aisha, Ahmed Binani. She's also one woman that, I expect, she's my colleague in the Senate, I know how she's been performing, and I think she'll perform credibly well. There's no reason why we will say that, a woman cannot win an election. They say the test of a pudding is in the eating.
Yeah.
So we are in it now, so we go in with a lot of, passion, a lot of enthusiasm to make sure that, we produce the first woman elected, first woman governor, in Nigeria. And I'm happy it's coming from Northeast. And
yes,
I'm also happy it's coming very close to my state, which is Taraba State.
Yes, but culture, religion, and all that, how are you trying to mitigate the effects of some of this?
We worked on that, in 2015, when that issue, came up. Yes, the culture is strong, the religion is also strong, but I'm yet to be convinced, that a woman cannot win an election.
All right, and then still on Northeast, 3 states PDP, 3 states APC, and you have presidential candidate of PDP coming from the Northeast, vice presidential candidate of APC coming from the Northeast. So people are really looking at that geopolitical zone as maybe to make a difference. So how are you working for the vice presidential candidate, by extension Tinubu, who is the presidential candidate?
Well, jokingly, I will say it's Adamawa versus Borno. Jokingly.
So where will you belong to? Adamawa? Because Adamawa, Taraba, they are one and the same thing.
No. The whole of Northeast, I'm from the Northeast too.
Yes.
But you see, we have to look at it in the context of understanding the dynamics, of politics of the Northeast.
Okay.
Yes, we have 3 states of PDP and 3 states, of APC. But what is fundamental is that we are going there, to campaign to our people to make sure that, the candidates that we have, are credible candidates. It's not going to be easy. Whoever tells you that it is going to be a walkover.
Is it because of the poor performance of APC that it's not going to be easy? Because in 2015, of course, you railroaded. Crash.
You see, in 2015,
PDP.
it's a different ball game.
Yes.
It's a different ball game. There was a change, in orientation, the change of, our thinking and what have you. Why I say it's tough for people to think that, because, APC, you have performed, so you can just sit down and relax.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. I have in the studio Emmanuel Osemeka and Jamilu Mohammed discussing the issues, in the CBN. Jamilu, before we went on break, I saw you really, nodding your head. Who should even be the governor of Central Bank? Because some are saying we found ourselves where we are because we bring people who actually influence their way to get to the CBN instead of maybe taking people, technocrats maybe, those who rose through the ladder within the banking system, the central bank, instead of commercial banks and all that.
Yes, talking about even whether the CBN governor should come through the banking system, there are people who are wholly against that. They say the central bank should be managed by an economist rather than by a seasoned banker.
But if you read economics in the university and you started your career in CBN, you are an economist, right?
Yes, you are. But it does not actually mean that you have to rise through the ranks from the central bank to the topmost position there. In most places outside Nigeria, we have systems that breed technocrats, not necessarily from within.
You mustn't even be a banker, because I read Adamu Chiroma's, he wasn't a banker.
The mistake people are making is the central bank, when you call it the central bank, people misconstrue it to be just like
normal
banking, commercial.
Yeah,
the
regular
central bank, they have entirely different jobs to do.
Mm-hmm.
These are deposit money banks. They have what they do there. The central bank, the primary thing the central bank does is it implements and manages the regulation of the whole banking system without actually going into the commercial banking. And then it issues the legal tender, issues and manages the legal tender.
Yes.
You don't have to go into the commercial aspect in that.
And this begs the question, because people are saying that sanctity, that aura of sanctity, is no longer there in CBN.
It is not there. That is why, you see, look at what Mr. MFLA has done in all his tenure. Let's look at the most recent one. You say you are managing our own legal tender. You are the issuer and manager of our legal tender. Now, you have issued more than 3 trillion of our legal tender in circulation.
Correct.
After issuing that, now you are telling us that about 2 point something, more than 50%, is not in your control. Because you say it's outside the banking system.
Yes.
If it is outside the banking system, and then every month you come and sit down. You said you are conducting the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. One of the issues we discussed there is inflation. How are you going to regulate or attack inflation when the money you have issued, more than 50% of it is not under your control?
It's not in your control, yeah.
If you now control your own interest rate, you raise interest rate from 14% to say 15% in order to reduce the amount of money in circulation.
Yes.
But somebody outside there or 10 other people outside there have money under their own pillows. You by your calculation, you are reducing the money that is going out from your own bank. But these people have enough money there. They'll pump the money into circulation. And the whole thing about inflation is demand and supply.
That's it.
So what is happening is you have like a pilot. You are a certified and certificated pilot. You are sitting down in a simulator. While the airplane is there practically in the air.
Like what Osemeka said, autopilot.
And autopilot. The system is on autopilot. You are sitting down in the simulator.
Taking coffee.
Taking coffee and saying you are driving you are flying the plane. Meanwhile, it is somebody else, people with a lot of money outside the system.
Yes, and the aircraft is unmanned.
So how are you controlling inflation?
How are you controlling it, Osemeka? I can see you are in agreement with what he said.
100%. 100%.
So is it that MFLA is not getting it right?
So I think there were a lot of distractions for him.
Okay, distractions for him.
So
from where?
And I think that was what culminated into that challenge we saw, where his posters and forms were bought for him. That he even had
in court, they were bought for him.
Some people bought form, actually. We saw the people that
bought the form. Maybe he gave them the money to buy.
Well, that's now speculative. So, but people bought forms, and people were pushing him to.
Even though he should be non-partisan, he should know this.
He
I
ought
think
to
by
have
experience.
come out to say, "I am not interested." Vehicles were purchased and branded.
But he even went to court.
He went. That's what I was trying to say. He went to court
to challenge.
That's why we said that these were the distractions, because if he had that ambition to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, then a lot of things he did. Now, this explains a lot of the issues.
The aftermath?
The aftermath of the challenges we saw, the autopilot issue we're discussing today. Because this changing of currency or printing of new note or the coloring of our money is
it just coloring?
That's what I call it. It's just coloring the money.
Jamilu, it's just coloring.
Of course.
You also agree?
It's just coloring our money because they didn't print new notes.
And people are yet to even have access to it. I've never spent one.
It's part of the strategy now, because now he suddenly realized that he needs to do his job. So he just began to do his job.
So in real sense, he's supposed to have done this long ago.
Long ago. You don't change money in 2-3 months. You change money minimum 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. The United Kingdom is also bringing out new notes.
Yes,
and
with the photo of
almost
the
2
king.
years for it to come out. They've printed the money, but it will take like 2 years for it to come out. They need to face out the money with the Queen's face and for the King's face to take over. It takes time, because you don't just wake up and mop this. But we understand that there are part forces. Of what they are now talking about is to curb vote buying and what have you.
Will it?
But you've been...
Will it stop vote buying, Jamil?
It won't at this point, because all he has done is to recycle the money again back to the same people. I don't see, up till this moment, if you go to the commercial banks, if you go to the ATMs, they still spew the all notes. Okay, so what have we done? Okay. I'm still at a loss.
Yeah. So Emmanuel, yes, you can finish your
I think part of the strategy, the CBN governor, which in my view, I stand to be corrected, is to be able to starve the people of the new notes. That's the strategy. I'm sure they didn't print a lot of that money.
Okay.
What they've done is that they will continue to oscillate the old notes until the deadline.
But will it in any way curb inflation?
That is yet to be seen. But in my personal view, I think it will help reduce vote buying. That's number one.
Yeah.
It will help reduce vote buying. Then two, it will also maybe help to reduce this ransom taking.
Just
and all that.
the issues they roll out.
But don't forget that we are very innovative people, or should I use the word creative people? Nigerians were very creative people. Don't forget that we have a lot of USD in circulation in this country.
And people will use that.
Well, people do not have to use that. If those who kidnap demand it,
you have to give to free your loved ones.
So these are some of the challenges that we're looking at. And when you talked about the DSS, laying siege at the CBN office, and of course the man in question being escorted into the office by the military. That's to show you the level of discordance we have within our security system. Because under normal circumstances, if there is a challenge and the security agencies are in tune, you wouldn't have this type of issue. The best that would happen is that Mr. Emefiele will be asked to step aside.
Who will ask him to step aside?
Well, the laws make it a bit complex because the president cannot by fiat.
He has to
he has to go through
National Assembly.
The National Assembly. Today, the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Reps, they are really very angry with him because he is making it impossible for them to win the election the normal way they win the election.
A new chapter now.
Unfortunately, I do not know if they have the will, to do the needful, because they have the numbers. They have what it takes. The CBN governor has flouted a lot of the provisions of the Constitution, a lot of provisions of the Bofia Act, but do they have the will? Were they not in cahoot with him all along?
Okay.
So those are some of the challenges.
Almost everybody is a victim and a villain.
I think from day one, this man, I'm sorry to say, I think he lacked the capacity to run
the CBN.
The CBN.
Like this.
You see, go back to history. This man came around June, July 2014.
Yes.
Okay. Our GDP in 2014, I think, was around 520
something.
No, it was 540 something. 546.
Correct.
546.
The GDP.
The GDP. In 2013, it was 508. Those were the highest we have reached.
546.
508, then 546. In 2013,
it kept dwindling.
In 2013, it was 508. Then it rose 214 to 546. But immediately he came in, 214, that was the 546.
Yes.
The next year, it was something of a GDP recession. We went back to 486.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. It's been over 3 months since candidates contesting in the forthcoming general elections publicly signed a peace accord, pledging to play decent politics devoid of attacks, insightful comments, and destructive campaigns. But the big question remains, have the candidates abided by the accord that they signed? We still have Jide Ojo and Dr. Salahuddin here with us in the studio to discuss this issue. Gentlemen, perhaps you can share your thoughts, because it's actually becoming a serious issue of concern to Nigerians, the way politicians have abandoned that peace accord. Maybe I should start with Jide.
I'm not surprised, and even the one that is embedded in the law, they have observed in breach. How much more this one that is more of a moral suasion, which is advisory, and which they really are not committed to.
You can see all the candidates there.
Yeah, they do that for the photo ops. you know, we signed, but you know, Tinubu was not even there. Kashim Shettima and
He represented you. I can see him there. I can see
Shettima and the party national
Party.
chairman, Senator Adamu Abdullahi, were the one that were. But irrespective, the point is, you see, this is like an advisory which does not have the force of law. But there are copious provisions in Electoral 2022 and even in the Constitution which forbids violence, which forbids, other tactics and all of that. Even the use of abusive language and all of that is there.
But who is to
Exactly, that's the point. I was shocked in October, November, when Inspector General of Police Usman Kalibaba was shouting and saying, "Look, we have it on good authority. You people, it's governors that are sponsoring. You have the power of arrest."
But the immunity clause.
If you cannot arrest the governor, how many people have you arrested? He said that 52 cases have been reported across 22 states as at that time, which was barely because the peace accord was signed on September 29, a day after the commencement of the open campaign. And I said, look, if the security agents have done their own work well, we will not have this escalating violence that is giving jitters to average Nigerians about whether election will hold as scheduled. You know, INEC chairman was there at Chatham House yesterday trying to assure and reassure that the election will hold. But I said, look, let's take that with a pinch of salt.
The assurances.
Yes.
Why? Is it because
the reason being that he is not in control of the situation. He is dependent on the goodwill of the security apparatus. INEC has no police of his own. INEC would be helpless. And I wrote a column for this day on Tuesday, yesterday. Yesterday, it's there in the lawyer page. Myself, senior advocate Femi Falana, Dr. Kayode Ajula, and one other doctor. 4 of us wrote, about the impact of violence on election. And my worry, and I stated it very clearly in black and white, about, look, INEC chairman needs to assure and reassure because that is work. He should not, in my part of the world, he cannot be seen to be saying, look, we cannot do this. And people will say, in 2019, when he postponed the election, the president was so angry that he was not even consulted before that postponement, that he said INEC will pay, that INEC will be investigated on why they did what they did.
Yeah, it was actually a last minute.
It was at
one
the
of
dawn.
The few papers who.
It was at dawn. We have already slept.
Even the president was in Dara already.
Everybody was
almost most of the Nigerian newspapers, came with the story that today is election. Lucky for us, we said election postponed here in Delhi.
Yeah, because you had a scoop, and you are lucky to have.
I was the politics editor.
But Hamza, remember, then that was how INEC chairman was assuring the public, even on the eve, the last stakeholders meeting that was held, if you remember, in 2019, which was just like 2-3 days to the election. He said election will hold as scheduled. He was so confident. And that was the root shock people got. If 48 hours, 72 hours ago, you told us election will hold as scheduled.
But you see, in politics, 1 minute is really...
That is why I'm telling you. That's why I'm telling you, it's still some 30-something days.
Yeah.
It's still like 30-something days. Anything can happen. Nobody foresaw that Enugu South local government office of INEC will still be attacked on Sunday, which is less than, the chairman possibly was already in UK
when this happened.
When that happened. You thought they have forestalled, and there was a loss of life in that attack. Remember, one of the 2 policemen died, the other one sustained.
Unfortunately.
So if these things escalate, look at the violence in Niger State, the burning of the church and the priest.
And even a traditional ruler, a district, it's still in Niger, he was killed.
And this is still spreading across. Look at the abduction in Katsina, in Zamfara and all of that. And you think election will hold as scheduled. INEC chairman told us in October last year when we had the last stakeholders meeting, and you know, possibly you attended or want somebody from there, because we had our own in the morning, you had your own in the afternoon. And people were asking me, why am I not waiting for the one of the media that I did that cherry pick the one I should attend. And the question, if you remember, the chairman said, as at that time, they were supposed to have conducted about 30 by-elections, which they cannot conduct.
Because of insecurity.
Because of insecurity. How do you deploy into Zamfara to go and conduct election where Toji? That's how I got to know that the Toji guy. 2G. Okay,
yes,
2G. Bello 2G. He's holding sway. How do you deploy people and put them in arm's way?
Deployment. And maybe I should ask Dr. Salahuddin as counter-terrorism expert, because what we are now witnessing actually, and the topic of discussion is political terrorism. I mean, the words of mouth, you know, the
psychological terrorism,
exactly.
So violence.
Now, just yesterday, Festus Keyamo said he will go to court after petitioning ICPC and EFCC about this special purpose vehicle that they lend their money. And they fired back. Dino said, fairy tale, that they should also, you know, arrest Tinubu for drug-related disease. Are these people really not hitting up the polity? And what should they do?
No, the effect of what they say at campaign ground are the things that you see playing out in various localities where these incidences are happening. Security is local, elections are local. The people who would actually engage in the entire process are also local. And of course, until you're able to get these people to actually sign these accords with their hearts and not just with their hands, you are likely not going to get any form of paradigm shift.
Some are suggesting that this peace committee should also have some legal backing to prosecute or something like that? I
mean, unfortunately for us in this country, I think there is this
even though you mentioned that the laws are there.
The laws are quite copious.
But because everybody benefits from the copiousness of the nature, the lacuna benefits on people within that corridor. And for me, I always mention that, look, the founding fathers didn't envisage that a time will come that will have this sort of leaders in this country. Maybe that was why they left a number of things, thinking that we will all be gentlemen and that we will all go into the country. But unfortunately, some kind of people, unfortunately on national TV, some people took over power and we have what we have. Dino Melaye has turned words into javelins and he throws it without any...
no gentleman.
Femi Fani-Kayode also has... so both of them now even organize skits in their own locality
to depict the campaign.
Yes, to depict the attitude of the other person. And of course, you have somebody like Keyamo, who also finds the economy around the entire conversation and push. The challenge is largely because we lack an ideology within our political
but who
system.
will entrench the ideology?
And that is this issue. Now, if you look at in 2019, the Press Council actually did a monitoring of all of these hate speeches and they documented them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, who took it forward? And it tells you very clearly that because all these guys are also perpetrators. So if you're a perpetrator, you cannot also sit in your court. You cannot be seen to be. So that is actually where the problem lies. We have always advocated for a special purpose tribunal that would actually try election-related cases.
Special purpose vehicle.
Exactly. So, but unfortunately, that is also not playing out. So it tells you very clearly that there is a lot that needs to be done. Now, if you at campaign ground raise conversation like that, what do you expect? You are sending a coded word to that person in trenches to say, look, these are the kinds of things and these are my body languages. I mean, if you recall the Ikenga issue, that happened in Anam. It was after a particular press conference that occurred and all that. And just hours after, his house was actually ravaged and invaded. We have 40 communities currently that are not within the control of the country. Okay, so how do you want to deploy in that kind of places? You have had over 25 police stations burnt down. You have had INEC facilities attacked at different times. You have had over 128 police officers killed only in this. In the last 14 states currently are on red alert.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Yes, we still have Mukhtar and Abdurazak with us in the studio. Yes, Mukhtar, I'm worried because PDP, APC, and INEC, they are actually trapped in Lagos, especially on this issue of collecting voters' cards. The PDP alleged that APC is actually conniving with INEC to deny a segment of the society, certain communities, from accessing their voters' card. They mentioned name, but I don't want to mention it here. He is the head of Department of GR/ICT at INEC in the state, who was alleged to have connived with the APC to clone the faces of voters through the privileged access he has to the PVC. You know, at the beginning of the program, we made mention of some reservations by some people. Now, here we are in Lagos. They said that they have even started cloning the faces. I don't know. We will bring INEC here at a certain time. But what is your take? Because people are trying to actually discredit the process.
Well, actually, this is very, very, if at all, I don't want to say if at all it happens, but it's a serious accusation. So INEC needs to come out clean and make their position about this issue. And at the same time, PDP, if they have the evidence on the ground, they can take this thing upward to INEC and even to court to challenge, not just to make it as a political statement in order to generate some sympathy from the electorate, because that is damaging the whole process. Democracy in Nigeria.
Assuming they said, okay, they are denying people, that is one thing.
But
now it's cloning. Yes, Mukhtar, is it possible to clone the faces of people, you know, meaning to disenfranchise certain people and then transfer their this card is not that anybody will pay. Everyone actually is entitled to have it.
I can't speak to the competencies of the technology, or let me say the detail, because I've not really done any form of forensic on that system, and I've not been exposed to any. But the one thing I can be sure of is, as the election cycle comes and as they're starting, there is going to be a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. They are actors. I think during your opening statement, you mentioned something around the BBC reports on how people are being paid to peddle fake news.
We're going to actually discuss that.
To jump into that, So we need to be very wary of the kind of information we actually ingest and what we are exposed to, because it's very pertinent. We don't want a situation where, because of what they've peddled and targeted us with, our rationality around how we are going to vote or the trust in the system. In all honesty, INEC has been doing their part to explain openly and work, especially they've had a very good synergy with the CSO communities. They've been very open, they've been very direct, they've been very frank in how they've been doing their dealings, which has actually created some level of trust in what systems and structures INEC has actually put in place. So if you come up with strong allegations like this, you need to be very well damn sure you actually have proof to actually back that up. And I think if the PDP does have tangible proof, it should be out by now. They won't be sitting on something like that.
Exactly. The INEC responded today because the resident electoral commissioner in Lagos, Olusegun Abaje, I will quote him. He said, INEC has neither political affiliation nor inclination with any party in the state. Collection of PVC is based on a first come, first served. This is what he said. So how can INEC maintain its neutrality in this process to make sure that people are not unnecessarily dragging it? They are contending with pre-election matters, over 600 cases. If someone came here and said over 1,500 cases, but INEC chairman says 600. Now, even some of the technology they want to deploy are being put to test now by Nigerians.
Well, I think the media here, they need to play their role by not taking any kind of story that is not verifiable, or the person that is telling the story doesn't have any evidence. If not, the media can now become a mechanism of spreading fake news and conspiracy theories, which is not good for the democracy. So I think if PDP, they have a case like this, they have to come out and make their position known and take it further. They can lodge a complaint. They can sue INEC and APC.
Yes, Agbajo actually, he said INEC by model voter accreditations will not authenticate any clone PVC on election day.
Yes, I think they've been saying this since from the beginning, that if for any reason you have two PVCs, just to put that in context, then you are actually going to be, if you don't report it and ensure that it is clarified, then you're actually going to be disenfranchised on that day. Because it's one person, it's supposed to be one person, one vote. You cannot have two votes, because then if you are going to have a cloned or a duplicated PVC, then that by implication is saying that you are one person that has two votes.
Yes.
It should not be the case. So of course, I think I support INEC for that statement, irrespective of how it's going to be. But again, like I've always stated, there's always room for margin of error. We are going to see, because this is the first time we are deploying this kind of technology on a massive scale.
Yes.
So there's going to be some pockets of issues. I'm hoping that those can be corrected by 2027, but not amplified too much to overshadow the large success that the BVAS is going to actually do for the general election.
Because the engineers in INEC appear to be very ambitious. Because I read it yesterday, someone saying that they are coming up with technology to actually other body.
The INEC chairman mentioned that.
Use that in UK or
the INEC chairman mentioned that in Chatham House and laughed. But anyway, I think I would assume that's a joke anyway, because the elections are too sensitive for that kind of this thing. But there's this popular adage where where I grew up, where they will say, from clap did enter dance.
Yes.
If we don't start from somewhere, we will not go to places. So of course we need to start from now. Well, the BVAS has been tested in Ekiti, the BVAS has been tested in Osun State, and it worked well. If it did not work well, before when we begin to see a lot of election court cases, election overturned, we didn't see that in the last two pre-season elections that we had. This is because,
even though we are still having issues in Osun,
but even at that, it's difficult to actually say there's any form of malpractice with tangible evidence, because the technology was definite. So we are hoping that is the same thing that will happen. The only place where we're going to have issues on the day of the general elections, or days preceding until the winner is called and the votes are collated, would be if anything happens to the INEC websites where the results are electronically transmitted. So another thing that we need to do is to encourage candidates. You mentioned something earlier about areas where there are no internet or off-grid communities. We should encourage local members to find a way, because this is a self-driving process, to support the INEC staff and
that the INEC must not produce everything, the generator.
Follow them, in fact, even follow them to the local government headquarters where they might get network service and want to upload. Make sure that the result that they counted there at your polling unit is the same result they are going to upload on the PVC when you go home. Because we have to play our part to ensure transparency in this election. Okay,
the INEC chairman mentioned mock. You started discussing it earlier. Is it really desirable for the mock, since they have actually used this in Osun?
But I think it was doing, because it will give them opportunity to see if there are some lapses here and there. They can remedy it before the general election. So I think it's a welcome development for them to have the mock exercise. And BVAS is just an upgrade of the card reader. So there is nothing, of course there are something new with it, more especially partial.
But who is actually scared of it? If I should ask you this.
Politicians. Politicians who are used to cheating. That incidence form we talk about is the main source of election rigging.
Exactly.
And that's why politicians are not happy that we are no longer going to use incidence
So
form.
you can sit in the comfort of your room to just feel and say, okay, Mr. A, B, C, D all participated in the election.
Exactly. So we have to do all our best to give the INEC the kind of support they needed to conduct this election.
All right.
If people, they are not happy with the way it is, if they have any lapses, maybe during election, they have every right to take their case to court.
Yes, good. Well, I will move to the other issue of our discussion, which is actually the BBC report on disinformation, malinformation and fake news. What the recent report by BBC showed that influencers are secretly paid by political parties to tarnish the image of their rivals.
I think this is one of the problems I have with third-party advertisement. Let me call it that.
Okay, third-party advertisement. Okay,
which is when you empower somebody else to either
sell you
or sell you or anything else. I've always had a problem with that, especially in the field of communication practice. Anyway, but moving on into the context of politics, there is a level of idolation that goes into some of these people who call influencers, which shouldn't really be the case.
Yeah,
as it may be. And because the larger society, and it's sad and disheartening and painful to see that the larger society thrives on bad news. If something sounds odd, if there's a level of oddity, an absurd amount of oddity about a news, then it goes further. Then people tend to believe it more. People are so disconnected from Nigeria that they believe that anything good cannot come outside from Nigerians within Nigeria. So if you want to elicit an action from them or trigger them, you have to use negative reinforcement, and which is some sort of what these people are actually trying to leverage on currently, the anger of the people, the agitations, especially if those in diaspora are not really helping, which is also a very big problem because Nigerians those in diaspora tend to have larger following. So Nigerians tend to listen to them more, and those people don't understand the context of the way things are operating currently within the country.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. We have in the studio Barrister Amina Ibrahim Bibi Farouk discussing politics. You want to come to Abuja, and you are actually the one woman of sorts, that if you happen to be in Abuja, you will now represent the whole Northwest, because this is your thinking. Why do you have this thinking that you represent actually the women folk across the Northwest?
First of all, I don't know of the other parties, which they call smaller parties.
Yes.
No.
We call them upcoming parties.
That's right, exactly, which is the best
yes, we call them upcoming
parties. You see, among the upcoming parties, I don't know if there's a woman, so there could be. But you see, with this way we think in Nigeria, this megalomania way we think, of course, they're always thinking APC, PDP, and it's because NMPP, in fact, is pushing. That's why it's even become a part of it, and LP now is causing, because the way I'm seeing the election this year, it's not going to be an election, it's going to be a revolution. Because they're
revolution.
Well, that's
we
the
said
way
it in our intro. Maybe is it because of the technology and all that?
No, because there are 4 formidable parties now. APC and PDP, I think, are all over the country. But NMPP and LP are making huge moves. I mean, we can't deny that. And huge respect to them as well, because it's not easy to compete with APC and PDP. So yeah, I think they're going to really give us a bit of.
Are you scared of them?
No.
You are not?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, my constituency is huge. I mean, if the whole of Giza and Gabasa is, say, maybe 20 men and women, it means 10 men, 10 women. So 10 men would be in different parties, but 10 women are going to be with a woman, regardless of her party.
Constituency.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going back to my question. What are you bringing to the National Assembly?
All the things that we did not have. First of all, let there be an understanding that the northern Nigerian woman can speak for herself, that she has issues also that she wants to bring to the table, and that she can make legislation as well, for example, and all the issues that women have, nobody is talking about them. At least not the northern Nigerian men that we know. Like I was telling you about my friend now that was talking about inheritance. And she was in the house. If the men had been talking about those things or bringing them up and not just sweeping them away, she would have been better educated. She wouldn't have confronted me with that. So also because The girl child, especially up north, needs somebody to speak for her. You see, there's a lack of education in the north, a lot of it, but mostly amongst women, girls. It's only when a woman is there that, who feels their pain, that, can do something. It's all about legislation and about oversight. Women are generally more compassionate.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's an indictment on some of us here.
Well, to be honest, I think it's just the way we are wired.
Okay.
Women are more compassionate. We see these things and we keep them in mind and we want to make the changes. I want to see children, in school.
I read one of your interviews. You conducted that in 2013, that if you had your way, everybody should be in school. Now we have how many million out of school children?
Over 13 million. Yeah.
According to UNICEF,
exactly.
NBS, and all
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
So nothing changed from that time when you conducted the interview and now?
No, I don't think much has changed.
Things, got worse.
You see, the only way things would change, you would know things are changing, is when we start to prosecute parents or guardians for not, getting their children to school. And you cannot do that because the government has to provide the school first. If the government has not provided the school, how can they indict parents who are not taking their children to school?
So maybe this will be one of your bills that
Thank you. Oh, yeah. That would be one of the things I wanted to bring school close to the children and make sure also that at least we have a university where I come from. In that area, all the universities are in Kano. Even if it is the Faculty of Education, Bayero University Faculty of Education, Gezawa or Gabasawa branch, we will do it. We will bring education closer to our children because before they commute and get to the city, it's a long haul for them and it's expensive.
People are accusing most of those who get to the National Assembly of just warming the seats, not really having an idea as to what they're supposed to go and do. Do you share this, and how are you going to approach it?
You see, the reason we have that, and it is true, we have that because, you see, until we remove this godfatherism, and until we bring people that have the capacity to do things for us, until we remove that sentiment about he's my brother, he's my cousin, he's my whatever, and just that is the reason why you're putting him there. Until all those things are removed, we are not going to move. We have to look at it, and the North has to have proper elders that are going to say no, when something is going to go wrong. And I think it could start from the house. We should also start to vet who represents us in any capacity. We must vet and make sure that it is a person that can really take our issue forward. Otherwise, we will still remain where we are.
Yeah, very sad. But who is your godfather for this? Because you just mentioned it, that for you to get to some of these elective positions, you just need someone to push.
Yeah, but you see, that is why I told you all the negatives that most of the women have or had, I don't.
Okay,
I've been a married woman for...
Godfatherism.
As far as I'm concerned, I went into an election and into primaries and I won. In fact, not only did I win, I came out unopposed. So I don't see me getting a godfather if I've been married for the last 42 years. And my husband has my back. He knows who I am. He accepts that I can do this thing. My parents are alive. My brothers and sisters are alive. Those are enough for me to push me and give me that support to say, okay, go ahead and do it. And the people also want it. If the people did not want it, they would have brought somebody else. I came out unopposed.
But are there some pressures from within? Because we know that many political parties are still having issues.
Let me just say this. They try. It depends on the kind of person also you are. Obviously, I'm sure there are people that would have wanted me out so that they could have the place. But it didn't happen. So in my case, I believe the good Lord has just decided this is the time. In fact, I was telling some people that my new name is Aya. That is, Aya in Arabic verse.
Yes, verse.
The good Lord has sent a verse.
You are proving something.
Exactly. He has brought me out unopposed. He has brought me out as the only person in the Northwest, and all the challenges about
the ruling party. Yeah, I mean the leading party.
Exactly, exactly, and also I'm not young. I'm not vulnerable. I am not without an education. I am not unemployed. All the things
you
that
are ready of sorts.
Well, the thing is, you see, I'm taking this as a job.
Yeah. You have fair knowledge on this you know, rights of women, what they should be given, and all that, right? You wrote something along that line, I think, in Britain.
Yeah,
Am
actually.
I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
How are women finding it there, and what women should learn here in terms of maybe fighting or struggling to get their own rights, and then to have the courage to even vie for elective positions?
You see, everywhere I think women have issues, and our issue is that there's a lack of equity. We are not saying that we are the same as men. We are equal because we are all human beings. We pray the same way, we eat the same way, we drink the same way, we sleep, all those things. So we are equal in those things, right? But we are not the same. You're wearing a cap, I'm wearing a scarf. My voice is not as deep as your voice. You know, there are some things you can't do, and there are some things I can't do.
Yeah.
So that is where our differences are. But so because you're wearing a cap and I'm wearing a scarf, give me a scarf, don't give me a cap.
And you can do whatever.
And that is equity, because what I need is a scarf, not a cap. So give me my scarf.
Okay.
So that's what we're asking for, that you see, take us for who we are, but give us our rights as, you know, as they belong to us, so that we can be in the same position as you, in whatever it is that you want.
Are you reaching out to community leaders, traditional rulers, clerics, to actually understand where you are coming from, and they should not really be averse to your cause?
You know, thank God for the 21st century. Things have changed, I think.
Yes.
I have been to many of them, and yes, because they are better read now. It's not the traditional reading of somebody will come and give you an interpretation. They are reading wide as well. You'll be surprised at how computer literate some of our malams are, and our imams. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So, you know, so yeah, they know, and I get advice from them.
They don't really show you that, look, why are you...
In fact, they encourage me. They encourage me, in Kano at least. Where I come from, they encourage me.
You specialize in alternative dispute resolution.
Yeah.
You are in PDP, and this political party at many levels, I don't want to say at the national or at the state, is actually facing so many problems. Why, and you're also a lawyer, why is it that it is court that is deciding some of these simple things that should be resolved at party level?
You see, the way I see things, it's not always about the problems, it's about how the problems are sorted.
Yes.
Our communities need to have justice. Where we have justice, things will not be so bad. To be honest with you, we do not have justice.
Even at the community level?
We do not have justice in so many places. And that is why people would rather, because they can't fight it, a lot of them will do the usual Allah Isa and just leave it at that.
Just like maybe you didn't do Allah Isa in 2019 because you were consoled by parents when your ticket actually was taken away.
Yeah, and also, you see, for me, I know that because I'd already accepted that there was this godfatherism thing, and I didn't have a godfather, and I was going to have one. So if they said they have an automatic ticket for somebody, they have an automatic ticket. The party doesn't belong to me. And who am I going to report to? It's an internal party thing.
Yes.
So if it is an internal party thing, who do you speak to?
But you can see people are now rebelling.
Well,
they said for you to go to court, you have to actually exhaust all internal mechanisms. Yes. Yeah. But people are not really waiting now because they believe that mechanism is not there.
But you see, that is where the courts also should come in, because if it is part of the law, I haven't really read that very extensively, but if it is part of the law that you have to do some dispute resolution before you come to court, then the courts should insist that you do it.